Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the Fall 2010 Friday Forum lecture series entitled Deconstructing the American Dream. Today's lecture is entitled Geography, Public Policy, and the Housing Crisis with our guest speaker, visiting Professor Jeffrey Crump. Before introducing the head table, I would like to inform you of the following. I invite you all to take a look at the announcements on the tables and at your seats for complete series schedules for the Friday Forum and the Know Your University programs. Next week, please join us Monday, October 11th at 7 p.m. in the chapel, where we will continue our reading discussion series entitled Faith and Food Justice. On Tuesday, October 12th at noon in Latzer Hall, we'll have iFoundry co-founder Ray Price in to discuss how the group is revolutionizing engineering education. On Thursday, October 7th at 5:30 p.m., we will continue our Global Lens art film series with the film Gods. And next Friday at noon, Friday Forum will host Professor Adrian Burgos, who will offer a historical context to the rise of Latinos in baseball and its links to the broader story of Latino immigration and the pursuit of the American dream. We hope you are able to attend these upcoming events. We would like to thank our series co-sponsors for financially supporting this program. A list of these campus and community organizations are found in our series postcard. We thank them for our consistent support. Sign language interpreters are available for any speaker in the series if the YMCA is contacted before 3 p.m. on the Tuesday prior to the Friday lecture. If you have any questions, please contact our front desk at 337-1500. Friday Forum is rebroadcast on WEF 90.1 community radio on Mondays from 6 to 7. For this reason, we ask that if you have questions or comments to speak clearly into the microphone, and if you'd like to order an audio or visual copy of today's talk, please contact the Y front desk. After the presentation, we will begin our question and answer period using the remote microphone to field questions. Please wait to ask your questions until you've been given the microphone because of the radio rebroadcast. If you need to leave during this presentation, please feel free to discreetly slip out. At this time, I would like to introduce the people at our head table. We have Colin Flint, Associate Professor of Geography and the Director of the Program in Arms Control, Disarmament, and the International Security. We have Jenna Petroska, President of the Student Board of Governors at the Y and member of Interfaith and in Action. And Mike Doyle, Executive Director of the University YMCA. And now, Professor Colin Flint will introduce our guest speaker.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Randa. Thank you. Well, it's a pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today. I've known Professor Crump for coming on 20 years now, but I promise I'll do the professional introduction today. Dr. Crump is a professor of housing studies at the University of Minnesota. Currently, his research focuses on subprime lending and foreclosure in the Twin Cities and elsewhere. Other research interests include public housing policy and deindustrialization in the Midwest. His research has been published in a wide variety of journals, the leading journals in the discipline, including the Annals of the Association of American Geographers, International Journal of Urban and Regional Research, and Urban Geography. Professor Crump has also testified on behalf of anti-predatory lending legislation in Minnesota and was chair of a state legislative committee on foreclosure data. His expertise is in affordable housing, housing policy, and urban politics, and mortgage markets. We're very pleased to have him speak at the University YMCA today. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Jeffrey Crump. Jeff.
Thank you, Colin. Is this... I'm on. I want to thank Colin for hosting me and the University Y for having me here at the University of Illinois. And it's great to come down here and such a beautiful day. Well, this project started in 2003. It was supposed to be a 6-month-long research project, and it's actually gone on a little longer than I thought. But I want to start out by saying that really my bottom line, the way I think about this stuff, is the fact that adequate and affordable housing is essential for the physical, social, and economic well-being of people. That having decent housing is critical to all of us. We need shelter, just from a physical standpoint, but from other standpoints as well. So when I'm thinking about things like subprime lending and foreclosure, this is where I'm coming from, that adequate and affordable housing is essential. I want to talk a bit about mortgage markets and a little bit of history. Historically, mortgage markets were highly segmented by race. And I don't mean to say historically that it's not happening anymore, because it still is. We had something called redlining. And this was really the policy of refusing to provide mortgage capital to communities of color. The term redlining comes from the fact that bankers would outline neighborhoods with red marking pens on a map and refuse to lend in those communities. And this was also active federal policy as well. So this sort of disinvestment in communities contributed greatly to community decline. Imagine living in a community where you can't get a loan if you need to repair your house. You can't sell your house because buyers can't find mortgage capital. In the deregulated mortgage era, beginning in the 1990s, really, we started talking about something we called greenlining or reverse redlining. This is the idea that mortgage capital became available in formerly redlined communities, but the real difference was the extra cost of that credit to those communities. So subprime lending, which is really high-cost lending, it floods into formerly redlined communities. And so what we have is a segmented credit system. We have a system where one group of people are getting prime rate loans and so on, and other folks are being targeted by the marketing techniques of subprime lenders, and that's not to mention other things like payday lenders, etc., like that, going on in those communities. In terms of policy, we have for 50 years and longer promoted homeownership as the solution to all problems. And so, you know, we have to kind of situate ourselves in this place where we're talking about this housing crisis, but we shouldn't forget that as a matter of policy, we've told everybody that homeownership is the way to go. This is what you ought to aspire to. The other thing I think that's really interesting is thinking about the creation of the subprime market, because what happens in the last 15 years is that redlined market areas get redefined as emerging markets. And in fact, in the housing literature, the term emerging markets becomes a substitute for discussing